going, guys? TPS Fab. Thought I'd do a little walk around video today. Something short, something simple. The first video I posted kind of talking about what the channel was going to be about. I just kind of had the mindset that it was going to be, the way I was talking, that it would be mostly just kind of local people that know who I am and kind of know how things have been for me with this bike over the years. But hopefully it reaches more people than just local. So there's going to be a lot of people that have never seen the bike before, never seen me before, don't even know really what type of racing I do or what it's really going to be based upon. So do a quick walk around, kind of talk about the setup of the bike and things I've changed over the years and things I've changed recently. There'll be more videos coming of actually working on the bike and doing some stuff, but I'm trying to get a little foundation set up so you can kind of see where it's coming from and where it's going to go. So let's take a look at the bike and see what it's got. So here's the bike I'm working with. It's a 03 GSX-R 1000. I bought this thing bone stock from a used dealership about, I keep saying about 8 or 9 years ago. I'd have to look back, I'm not sure exactly, but it's been a while. Started out as a stock wheelbase, eventually progressed into mild motor with 60 inches. Then it went to same motor setup with a little bit of spray, ended up at 68. Last year was the biggest year for changes with the standalone, and sat at about 68 inches. Kind of follow the old school Pro Street rules style of build. Not quite as fast as what those guys would run, but it runs pretty good. Been a nitrous bike forever. Last year was the first switch to turbo, and put a standalone on it. So it does have a Fueltech FT550. It's all touchscreen. Does everything on the bike, boost control. All my maps and different tunes are in there for different track conditions. 6-over tail, typical drag bike stuff. A lot of extra sensors on the bike. Run shock sensor. Nitrous bottles for boost control. Class I want to run isn't allowed 2 power adders, so the bottle's actually, it's just CO2 in there, but the arm already had the bracket for the bottle, so it was easier to just keep it. And that bottle's I think it was all of last season I ran that bottle. So boost control is not really big on using a lot of high pressure gas. Upgraded to a new wastegate this year too. It's actually got a Turbo Smart gate on it now that's actually made to work with high pressure gas as opposed to the old wastegate that actually gave me a little bit of problems last year. It was a Chinese knockoff, I'm not gonna lie, but it got me down the track, got me learning. You can see the boost controller solenoids are up in here. It's the pressure gauge. All the wiring in the bike runs up to the front corner here. Kind of low on light, but you'll see that stuff once we get all the body work off of it. Carbon hugger, evil arm. We're an R1 rear wheel, R1 light and caliper, or light and rotor, and R1 caliper. Grudge rear sets, still run a rear brake. Runs a MTC Gen 2 clutch. Probably one of the best investments I ever made. See the charge tube aluminum piping there coming off the turbo. That was my first attempt at TIG welding aluminum. It's a AGP 57mm billet wheel dual ball bearing turbo, purchased through Monster Turbos. Jay Stedman there was a huge help in helping me get parts for this thing to kind of piece my own kit together. 16-inch CBR front wheel, the usual stuff. Got the ram air ducts blocked off with some carbon fiber pieces. Don't need them anymore. Up in the corner here you can see where the Fueltech sticker is. It's a remote sensor block I made. Run water pressure sensor, oil pressure, and fuel pressure up in the corner, along with all the other sensors on the motor. Intake air temp, water temp, like I said, shock sensor. Fuel system is up under here. The AEM pump. You can see there's a fuel filter and actually a nitrous filter. It just keeps junk from the CO2 bottle, the old nitrous bottle, from getting up to the boost control solenoids. Rear mount radiator. It's actually a radiator off of a KX65 dirt bike. Works pretty good. There's a small 4-inch, I believe it's a 4-inch fan on top of the radiator, so it actually does have some cooling. Come back from a pass, park it in the pits. I can have the thing cooled off, circulating the electric pump and the electric fan. Cools off in like 5 minutes or so. Clutch takes a little longer to cool off, but I'm usually hotter than the bike is anyway, so I don't mind taking a break between passes. Fiberglass grudge tank. It's actually for a 05, 06 1000. Wasn't made to fit this bike, but a little bit of work. It went pretty good. It's on there. The 03s are actually pretty hard to find, like grudge type bodywork for. Even the tail, I had to make a seat pan for it because they don't make that tail to fit any kind of forward seating position. The hose sticking out the back. This is actually a coolant overflow purge tank hose, basically. So if I'm running down track and the thing wants to puke any coolant out, it'll actually blow it out the back. A lot of people are like, well, doesn't it hit the back tire? Well, at speed, it blows it almost straight out the back. Pretty much nothing gets the tire. Run a M2 shock. It's a M2S2 remote reservoir shock. Works pretty good. The shock I had on before this was a revalved one I did. It was just a stock Gen 2 Busa shock. This was actually pretty much worth the investment. Adams flat link. SAE Outlaw adjustable lowering links. They are probably some of the best lowering links I've ever seen. Super heavy duty. And they actually look good too. Air shift cylinder. See the exhaust, the wastegate pipes. That was my first attempt TIG welding stainless steel. This whole bike was kind of a first attempt at everything. I don't really pay to have anything done. I've bought completed parts for it. I mean, I don't make everything, but if I can, I'm gonna sure as hell try. The motor is still stock bore, stock stroke, 03 bottom end. I run 07 GSXR 1000 cylinder head with 07 throttle bodies. Run 4 injectors, got injector dynamics, ID 1050X. 4 injectors is way easier to tune than 4, or 8 I mean. Stock cams, stock crank, Carrillo H-beams, JE pistons. It's really nothing fancy. It does go way in the 7s on about 16 pounds of boost. No intercooling on it yet. Plan is to go, well, original plan was to go water meth. I even wired in the connector when I did the standalone to turn on the water meth solenoid, so it would be boost activated. Currently thinking of going water to air. Kind of a long story, but I just think it'll be easier to fit it all into the bike, and a lot easier to tune. That's my biggest thing, is tune. I tuned this bike, I wired the bike, it's my baby. So anything I can keep it easier for me to understand it and tune it and get it down track, the better. We'll just keep working away at it. Runs Monster Turbos, stainless monster header. Kind of see that in there. It's a 44 millimeter wastegate. Take the seat pan off here. Take a little peek under the tank. This is the plenum. It's a Monster Turbos plenum. I modified it from a side inlet to a center inlet, and then the charge tube heads down over the valve cover. There's no radiator in the front, radiator's in the rear, so that made making the charge tube really easy. That is a Chinese knockoff blow-off valve, and it actually works pretty darn good. We'll be updating that to a Turbo Smart piece shortly, just because I'm so impressed with the quality of their parts. I want to keep using some of that stuff. That's pretty much roughing in what this bike is all about. It's a lot of intricacies, but we'll get into that in more videos as I'm working on stuff. This is just kind of a walk around. If you were to see it in the pits, all the stuff you would just kind of see. So now, let's get to wrenching on this thing. Who doesn't like seeing new parts? This is what we'll be putting on this weekend. Got the new DME arm with carbon hugger, chain guard, nitrous bottle bracket, chain roller. Get the air tank in the arm. Went with the lightweight axle blocks. Pretty slick. This thing is such a nice unit. I can't even tell you the quality if you've never had one. It's my first DME arm, and I don't see a single flaw on this thing. It's literally, it's perfect. The fit, the finish, everything, and how it's all welded. I mocked up some of the parts already on it, and everything goes together perfect. So we'll get to take it. So I'm going to start with getting the wheel off and start getting the links and stuff off so I can get the swing arm out of the way. I already got a jack under the bike, propped up so I can get everything off the rear. So let's go. That there is a titanium swing arm pivot nut. I absolutely did not need that. I just thought it was cool. It's the little things, you know. Suspension links are off. Pull the shock sensor out. Swing arm pivot removal tool. Custom made socket with a bolt in it. Anything can happen. Just like that, we back half the bike. Digging around for new parts. No idea when I bought these, but they're new and I'm going to use them. When you run too small of a front sprocket, it tends to eat that up. New ones just happen to be in the box.
Alright guys, here's where we're at. New arm came off as an entire assembly. That's actually going to go on another bike, so I'm just leaving it as is. Air gauge, fittings, bottle bracket, everything will stay the same. Chain guard, all of it. Going on another bike. Here's where this one sits right now. New arm is on. We have the shock sensor reinstalled. Shock is tight. Shock linkage is all back in there. And we got our shift cylinder back on, and swing arm pivot is tight, and that was my kickstand going up. Sorry about that. So I'll finish getting the hugger on here, bottle bracket, get the fittings in there. Try to get it as close to ready to go as I can. Hang in there. Alright, we got the chain rollers on and tight. Back wheel is in. Just kind of sitting roughly where I'm going to set up the wheelbase at. Got the bottle in. Line's hooked up. Still need to get a fitting for my air tank to the shift solenoid. But here's the wheelbase we're going to set it at. So I got my center mark. I dropped the plumb bob down. Got my mark on my lift. Run her all the way back. Here's where we're gonna sit. Let's see that. 72 inches. That was the goal. No lying about it. But keep working. Time to get the hugger on and chain guard. So look at that setup. Alright, so we're making progress here. Hugger is mounted. Just had to mount them brackets, kind of help get it all squared away. Next project is we got to get a rear caliper on there, and that happens to be hanging right there because it fell off my bench. But I'm going to replace that line anyways. I just got to get it mocked up back here to see what I'm going to need for caliper stay. It's a little different than the arm I was running, but I think I can make something work. What's next? So here's where we ended up with the project. Everything's about wrapped up. A few things I'm going to change out yet. The one line for the CO2 to the filter is a little shorter than I'd like, so I'll get a little longer one there. I'm going to get in black brake line, get rid of some of the stainless stuff on it. Still need a chain. Loaded that up tonight. Hugger's on and turned out pretty good. Be happy with how it's squared up. These brackets, I actually wanted those to be on the inside of the hugger, but just the way everything kind of fudged out and worked, the hugger laid better in place, kind of more relaxed with it to the inside of those brackets. So we're just going to leave it ride. I don't mind how it looks. The hugger itself is on there really good. I'm happy with that. So all in all, a little early morning swing arm project. I'll take it.